Hi, I'm now going to talk to you about the HDMI over Cat5e extender. Okay, the idea of this is the ability to be able to send the HDMI signal from something like this satellite receiver to a second location through Cat5 cables. Okay, you need two Cat5 cables for this particular system for this to work. So obviously in the ideal circumstances, what we would be doing is we would have our HD box, such as the Sky HD box, next to the television. This may not always be practical. For instance, we may have it, this box may be actually located in the attic, and because of the cabling we're not able to run it down, but we do have Cat5 cabling things. Now it would be possible to run a HDMI cable down, but that's not always neat or possible to do in a nice manner. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what this kit consists of, and I'm going to give an overview of how to install it and what we'd use in conjunction with it. Okay, so what comes in the box? We have a very simple user manual here. We have a power unit here, which is used with the receiver unit, and we have a sender and a transmitter unit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to tilt this forward here and just show you on the receiver unit we have two Cat5 ports here. One is marked port 2, the other is marked port 1, and on the far end on the transmitter unit, which is marked TX here, we have port 1 and port 2. Okay, now if we rotate both of these units around, we'll see that there's HDMI inputs and outputs on each of them here, where it actually simply input a HDMI lead. And also there's an IR sensor port here, so we'll actually push an IR sensor in here if we wish to. And then just to rotate this around to the side, we'll see that on the receiver end we use a power unit which pushes in here, and on the transmitter end we don't have this because it's actually being powered by the box. So what I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to give an overview of how to install this. So equipment that doesn't come with this kit that you're going to need. You're going to need two Cat5 cables, and the length is going to depend on how long from the receiver to the television, and often it might be actually installed in your wall already, and then also an extra HDMI lead. So what I'm going to do here as the very first thing is I'm going to disconnect the HDMI lead. So we're going to connect to the same television from the same box, but now we're going to do it wirelessly. So the first thing here is to take the transmitter. We take the HDMI lead here and we simply push it into the back of our Sky box, which is here. So we can see here, HDMI, we push it in. So now we have the idea is we have a signal coming from here into this unit here. So we just push it in here, and the moment I do this, the light comes on. So this is now being powered by the box. Okay, we got our two Cat5 cables. So we need to pay careful attention to how they're numbered, because it's specific what port you need to feed in. So we have the black one is going to be on Cat5 port 1, and the yellow one will be obviously on port number 2. So once again, so on the far end we run the cable down. So the yellow one here is going to go into port number 2, and the black one is going to connect into port number 1. Okay, so at that point here what we'll do is, the next point is I will come along and I'll simply get the HDMI lead here, connect it in, and at that point in time you'll see the light comes on. So this is actually taking a certain amount of power from this television here, but it's not sufficient to be able to power the whole system. So this is why we need the power unit. We simply get the power unit here and we push it in here. Okay, what we need to do now is just wait for a minute for this unit to kick through, and what it'll do is it'll power up the unit, and suddenly we'll be able to look at the channel 4 HD again here. Okay, now we just want to check the volume here and make sure that's come through. So you can see the picture here is absolutely fantastic, and we can see the sound here, excellent as well. Okay, so this is now a fully installed system. It's very, very simple to do. You can see how well it works. But normally we'll say in the second location you're going to want to be able to change channels. Okay? And to do this you need a set of IR sensors. And what we have in front of us here is what comes in the IR sensor kit. So infrared kit for HDMI. So we have two sensors, one for the receiver end, one for the transmitter end, and we also have a little adapter here. Now I found using these particular kit here, we don't need to use this little adapter kit. There is other variations of the lab gear or other type of lab gear sensors where this would be essential, but for this one it's not essential. In fact, it'll prevent it from working. So just you can just not use this part of the kit. And if we come along here and look at the two sensors here, we have a TX, which for transmitter end, and we have on the other one, if we look carefully, it'll say, right now, making it clear in the light, RX. Okay, so what we do here is we simply come along, and I'm going to connect these in here on both ends. So on the transmitter end here, we just turn this over here, IR, and we push this in. Okay, and on the far end, we'll do exactly the same thing. We simply push it in here, and a sensor thing. So what will happen here is, well, this IR sensor here will be simply come along and we'll either stick it onto the top of the television or the side or just underneath. And what will happen is if in the remote location where the television is, we come along and we say we want to change channels or check what channel it is. The signal goes from this remote control over to the sensor, feeds down into the receiver unit, and the signal goes backwards back to the transmitter unit. And from here, it wants to send the signal from here into this box. And how we achieve this is we come along and we pick up this sensor here, and we need to make sure that this sensor is positioned over where the sensor on the front of the box is, so the signal from here will be fed directly into the front of the box. Now it's hard to know exactly where to position this, and it can be quite it's quite unforgiving. If you put it in the wrong location, it's just not going to work. Now a great way of finding out where to locate this is to simply come along and block the front of the box. Come and try to change channels. You'll find out it won't work. And slowly slide the box across the front of the box, and suddenly it works. What I'd normally do at that point then is I'd just put a little piece of paper or something in front of the box and I'd mark it started to work here, and then I'd repeat the process coming from the other direction, slide it across, and we'll find out here. So then we can see we've marked the outer edges of it, and we'll know that the sensor needs to be positioned roughly here. So you can see anyway, you know, it's an excellent system. It works extremely well. We have many wireless senders and different ways of sending signal around the house. This is the only HDMI version that we have. We have a new wireless kit which is in a completely different price bracket, far more expensive. So this is extremely good. It works well. A lot of people have HDMI cables in their thing, or if you needed to run HDMI cables, it's much neater to do that than to run a heavy duty let's say HDMI lead. And also the lead runs in this. You can run for 40 or 50 meters without any difficulty. So I find this an excellent unit and something that sells quite well on the tvtrade.ie website.